The most beautiful woman in the history of the universe didn't walk down the aisle toward a hero. She was handed over as a ransom to a man who lived in a volcano and smelled of soot. Imagine the scene on Mount Olympus. The gods, the embodiments of perfection, staring in stunned silence as Aphrodite, the goddess born from celestial foam, was legally bound to Hephaestus, the lame god who had been cast out of heaven by his own mother. This wasn't a romance. This wasn't a Beauty and the Beast fairy tale where the beast turns into a prince. This was a cold, calculated political transaction born out of a trap that even Zeus couldn't break. Why would the king of the gods force the goddess of love into the arms of the one deity everyone else mocked? The mystery of this marriage isn't about love. It's about a golden throne that had teeth and a god of fire who decided that if he couldn't be loved, he would be feared. Today, we are descending into the forge to uncover the blackmail of the gods. We are looking at the wedding that broke Aphrodite's heart and started the most scandalous cycle of revenge in mythological history. This is the story of how a monster used his genius to cage a goddess, and why the ultimate beauty was the price of a mother's freedom.
Unveil the legends.
The architecture of this disaster began with a rejection. Hephaestus was born imperfect in the eyes of his mother Hera. In a fit of disgust, she threw her newborn son off the peaks of Olympus, leaving him to fall for an entire day until he slammed into the sea, shattering his legs forever. But while the other gods were defined by their looks, Hephaestus was defined by his mind. He didn't just survive, he mastered the fire. He became the ultimate architect of mechanical revenge. He spent years in his underwater forge, crafting a gift for the mother who had discarded him, a throne of such exquisite, breathtaking beauty that no one could look away. When the throne arrived on Olympus, Hera was charmed. She sat down, and in that instant, invisible, unbreakable golden wires snapped shut. The throne wasn't a seat, it was a cage. The more she struggled, the tighter the wires bit into her divine flesh. The gods tried to break the chains, but they were forged with a logic that defied divine strength. Zeus realized there was only one way to free the Queen of Heaven. They had to bring the smith god back to Olympus and give him whatever he wanted. And what Hephaestus wanted wasn't an apology. He wanted the one thing that would make the gods who mocked him burn with envy. He wanted Aphrodite. The wager of the wedding was the ultimate out-of-the-box move by Zeus. To save Hera from the embarrassment of the golden chair, he offered Aphrodite's hand in marriage as the prize. Hephaestus, the man who spent his life in the dark, surrounded by hammers and heat, stood before the assembly and demanded the foam born. It was the ultimate power play. By marrying Aphrodite, Hephaestus wasn't just getting a wife, he was claiming status. He was forcing the perfect ones to accept him as an equal by holding the most desired woman in existence as his property. Aphrodite's reaction was a silent, cold fury. She was the goddess of spontaneous desire, yet she was being treated like a piece of livestock in a trade deal. This is the core mystery of her character. How does the goddess of freedom handle a permanent cage? The marriage ceremony was a funeral for her joy. Hephaestus, limping and covered in the grime of the forge, stood next to a woman who radiated a light that made his eyes ache. He gave her jewels that could buy kingdoms, but he couldn't give her the one thing she craved, the spark. This marriage was the birth of the divine grudge, a union of fire and sea foam that was destined to boil over. There is a psychological horror to their life in the forge. Hephaestus, knowing he could never truly possess her heart, tried to buy her affection with objects. He built her a palace of automated gold. He created golden handmaidens, the first robots in history, to serve her every whim. He even crafted her the cestus, the magic girdle that made her irresistible to everyone. It was the ultimate irony. The god of the forge created the very weapon that would eventually lead his wife into the arms of other men. He was trying to engineer a love that can only be felt. The mystery of their coexistence reveals a dark truth about the gods. They aren't good, they are extreme. Hephaestus was an extreme of structure, and Aphrodite was an extreme of chaos. Putting them together was like trying to contain a hurricane in a box. Aphrodite spent her nights looking at the soot on the ceiling, listening to the rhythmic clang, clang, clang of her husband's hammer, while her mind was on the battlefields where Ares, the god of war, was covered in a different kind of red. This marriage didn't tame Aphrodite. It radicalized her. It made her realize that if she was forced to be a wife, she would become the ultimate adulteress. So why did it last? Why didn't Zeus just dissolve the marriage once Hera was free? Because the order of Olympus required it. Zeus knew that if Aphrodite was single, the gods would tear the universe apart fighting over her. By tying her to the least threatening god, the one who spent all his time underground, Zeus created a buffer zone. Hephaestus was the safety valve for the sexual tension of the heavens. He was the cuckold king, a figure of ridicule who served a vital political purpose, keeping the peace by absorbing the humiliation. But Hephaestus wasn't a fool. He knew about the affairs, he knew about the whispers, and his revenge would eventually become more famous than the marriage itself. He didn't use his fists, he used his art. He was the first god to realize that observation is a weapon. He spent his marriage building a net of thin bronze wires, finer than a spider's silk, that he would eventually drape over his own bed to catch the goddess of love in the act of betrayal. He wasn't looking for a happy ending. He was looking for evidence. Today, the story of Beauty and the Beast is a romantic cliché, but the original version is a warning about the price of possession. It reminds us that you can't force a heart to beat for you, even if you are the greatest craftsman in the world. The marriage of Aphrodite and Hephaestus is the preset for every tragic love story in history. The next time you see a beautiful piece of jewelry or a flawless machine, remember the soot-covered god who tried to buy a goddess. Remember that the perfect marriage on Olympus was actually a prison built of gold and blackmail. Aphrodite remains the uncaptured one, and Hephaestus remains the architect of heartbreak. The forge is still hot, the hammer is still falling, and the goddess of love is still looking for a way out of the golden cage. The fire doesn't create love, it only hardens the iron of the heart.